Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today I'm looking at some Dynasty stashes. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Let's go. So, the first stash, Jonathon Brooks. Of course, everything in his career has gone wrong for Brooks. But we've now finally gotten to a point where Brooks can be considered a stash. So, let's take a look at what he did in 2024. In 3 games, he had 9 carries, 22 yards, 3 catches, 23 yards. He barely played. Took a while to come back from the college ACL tear and then tore the same ACL again. It's very, very unfortunate. Now, why do I have Brooks as dynasty stash? Few reasons. One, strong college prospect and draft capital. Still pretty young, and of course, you can put him in an IR slot. So he had an amazing final college season at Texas in 2023. Remember, he was hanging around there when Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson were there. Obviously, Bijan Robinson is one of the best college running back prospects of all time. So it's not surprising that he really prevented Jonathon Brooks from doing anything until 2023. But in 2023, Brooks was great. 187 carries, 1,139 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6.1 yards a carry, and 25 catches for 286 yards and a touchdown. 103.5 rushing yards per game, and very strong efficiency, and was also involved in the passing game. So he was great across the board. The ACL tear cut his season short. Without the ACL tear, I do think Brooks, as a 21-year-old prospect, would have been a first-round pick. The ACL tear bumped him down to the second round. Obviously, the Panthers took him. He was supposed to be their guy, and then the injury took forever. Chuba Hubbard looked better than we expected, so on and so forth, and now we're in the situation that we're in. So Brooks will miss the entire 2025 season on the PUP list. It's already determined. He will not play in 2025. But he will be just 23 years old when the 2026 season starts. So for 2025, the Panthers have Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, and they also drafted Trevor Etienne. Rico Dowdle's a 1-year deal, so I don't think he'll be back beyond this year. Chuba Hubbard and Trevor Etienne, I mean, that's probably their backfield for 2026. Hubbard, Trevor Etienne, Jonathon Brooks. That's probably their 3 for 2026. That's probably their plan. Now, to give you an idea, Brooks will be younger when the 2026 season starts than RJ Harvey is now. So Brooks is still going to be young. There's going to be an opportunity to gain dynasty value. Now, the big thing is on most fantasy platforms, you can put Jonathon Brooks in an IR slot. This came up recently. Now is the time I'm talking about it. Again, there are picks late third. You could trade for Brooks. I'd rather Brooks, who is actually a really good prospect, over someone like Woody Marks, who is a terrible prospect that I don't want. So there are opportunities to get Brooks on your dynasty team, but I just haven't talked about him in a while. Wanted to discuss him. The second name who's kind of in the news is J.K. Dobbins. And I really don't understand still on May 28th how J.K. Dobbins isn't signed. I must be missing something because J.K. Dobbins was really good in 2024. In 13 games, 195 carries, 905 yards, 9 touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry, and 32 catches for 153 yards. Averaged 15 carries a game. Immediately took the starting job away from Gus Edwards. Was pretty efficient. He did miss 4 games due to a knee sprain. I could get how that could scare teams off, but he was good. Should J.K. Dobbins be a starter? Can you really rely on him? No, probably not. But should J.K. Dobbins be on an NFL team as at worst a 1B back? He really should. He is good enough. And I don't understand why. If he finished the season healthy, I really don't get it. There's not a current injury that I know about with J.K. Dobbins. He averaged 14.8 fantasy points a game, 18th among running backs who played at least 5 games. Again, he was good. For fantasy, he was good. Last year when he played, he was good. And if he gets opportunity, he could be good again. Now, why do I have Dobbins as a dynasty stash? So he was fantasy viable last year. We're not talking about 4 years ago. Last year, that's not that long ago. People remember that. He was fantasy viable. And we know with free agents like this, when they sit out there in free agency, their value decreases. And no matter where he signs, people will find a reason why the value increases. So what is a dynasty stash? Someone who is lower value now, who could increase in value later. So that's what J.K. Dobbins is. He'll probably sign somewhere. Now, we all know that the Chargers use that weird tender on Dobbins. So if no one signs him, he'll revert back to the Chargers with a salary of around $3 million. I do think someone signs him. I don't think the Chargers actually want him back. I think they did this so they could get a comp pick. And I do think someone signs J.K. Dobbins for $1 more than that tender value or whatever. Now, I've heard really 3 teams laid out as possibilities. The Texans, which is an interesting one. The Cowboys, of course, and the Bears. Those are the 3 teams that I think are most in the market for running back. The Texans are the one that's been talked about more recently, and I do kind of like it. I see Woody Marks, who I said earlier, not good prospect, as like a change of pace back. If Joe Mixon went down, Woody Marks would not, you wouldn't have an offense with Woody Marks. That wouldn't work. But you would have an offense with J.K. Dobbins. So I do think if they're done with Dameon Pierce, the Texans could sign J.K. Dobbins. He would be their direct backup, and then Woody Marks would be kind of, whatever, change of pace. So that's something to watch. Now, my next player, Roman Wilson. Now, you might say, well, Tyler, you always say that these players who did nothing as rookies are terrible. They're never going to succeed. And that's basically true. But I will say there are a couple indicators of someone who might still succeed. Number one is if they didn't actually get on the field at all. So Wilson missed his entire rookie year due to injuries. Really never was healthy. He played like 1 game. So he was injured. Now, the track record of players injured year 1 is not great, but it's better than the track record of players who had an opportunity to play and were awful. That's basically 100% failure. Those who are injured, still not likely, but more likely to succeed than those who played and are bad. So, players in this category are Roman Wilson, Marshawn Lloyd. These players just never were healthy. Now, Wilson recorded 0 offensive stats in 2024. He spent most of the season injured. Like I said, he played in 1 game. So it wasn't an opportunity. Now, why do I like Roman Wilson? So I did like him coming into the NFL. Now, his college numbers were not great. He played at Michigan. He did not accumulate a lot of raw college statistics, but a lot of people liked Wilson in the pre-draft process. He was consistently mocked in the 3rd round, which is where he went to the Steelers, who have a good track record of picking wide receivers, at least by talent, maybe not by personality. But, Wilson was a prospect that we liked. The NFL draft community liked. The Steelers liked. This was not a surprise that he went in the 3rd round. It was about what was expected. Now, the other indicator for these year 1 failures that succeed later are, did the team hold over a spot for that player? We'll give an example of where a team did not. Jalen Polk. The team has replaced that player. They're not interested in him. Whereas the Steelers, they have the same coaching staff, the same general manager that selected Roman Wilson. They replaced George Pickens with DK Metcalf, but they didn't really do anything else. Their other wide receivers are Galvin Austin, Roman Wilson, and now Robert Woods, who was, whatever, washed up, I think. So there's an opportunity here. I mean, there's an opportunity for Roman Wilson to have some playing time in year 2. I'm not saying he's going to hit, but I'm saying that, of the wide receivers kind of in that year 1 failure group, he's probably my favorite one of the ones who just did nothing at all. So something to consider at the back of your dynasty bench if he's dropped post rookie draft. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using code TylerYT50. That's a new discount code because Patreon only lets you use discount codes for 6 months. The old code TylerYT has expired, so now the code has just been changed slightly, TylerYT50. If you go to checkout and type in that code, TylerYT50, it will give you automatically 50% off your first month at whatever tier you choose. 50 people or so use that discount code over the last 6 months. That's actually pretty good. I was pretty happy with the uptake on that. A lot of people were using that discount code. And of those people, about 75% of them are still on the Patreon. So they tried it and they actually stayed for more than a month. So people are trying it and people are enjoying what they are trying, which is great. So I'm going to continue this 50% discount forever. You'll always be able to get it. It's only the first month, but I'm going to continue this as a policy forever for those watching the YouTube channel to reward those who are here watching my content. Now, On the Patreon, you can get my Dynasty and rookie rankings. And of course, there will be redraft rankings and start sit rankings during that time of year, but those are not up yet. Access to the Discord. That's basically like a community area. Write-ups. I'm doing a write-up series right now on every NFL team. I've done 2, the Eagles, and actually covered the Cardinals yesterday. I'm going to do a write-up on every NFL team, previewing them for the Dynasty season. Obviously, I can't talk about everything on here, but I will cover everything on the Patreon. Patreon-only videos, those are typically strategy-based, evergreen type content. I did a rebuilding video. I do roster review videos, and maybe a few other things. Direct message fantasy advice, that's what it sounds like. Giving you direct message fantasy advice about your Dynasty team. I do redraft in season as well. And then the ability to ask in advance questions for YouTube videos. We know what that is. That's at the end of every video. See it at the end of this video. Now, tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. And if you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel under Patreon promos. I'm going to do another one next week. So I'll be walking you through more in detail of what I've been offering lately, how I'm working to improve the Patreon and all of that. But with that said, I'll move into my next stash. So my next player is Jonathon Sanders. And I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about him because there's just so much going on with the Panthers. We've talked about Jonathon Brooks earlier. People are talking about Bryce Young. They picked Tedero McMillan, and then Sanders kind of wasn't on the field that long, or his productive window was kind of short. Played 16 games last year. So he did play all but one, but there were a lot of issues. So 33 catches, 342 yards, a touchdown, 43 targets, 2.1 catches, 21.4 yards per game. To be honest, that's actually pretty good for a rookie 4th-round tight end. But the yearly stats lose a lot of context. He suffered a concussion in week 12, and it just wasn't the same. He totaled 4 catches for 40 yards in the final 5 games. He had 24 catches, 274 yards, and a touchdown in the previous 7. He was working his way into a majority snap share. And I think that might continue in year 2. Pretty young player as well. So there's been a lot of things going on with the Panthers. Again, I think the Panthers are one of the most talked about NFL teams in terms of what's going on with their dynasty assets. So first of all, Tommy Tremble, I think this was maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, suffered a back injury and required surgery. Now, Tommy Tremble was not a fantasy asset. We know that. But we do know that, I mean, the Panthers have some decent wide receivers. Not great, but they're probably going to play mostly 11 personnel, which means that any playing time that Tremble had would probably take away from Sanders. So this is just another thing that could help Sanders get on the field a little bit more. If it's 70% of snaps instead of 60, that could make a big difference. Now, the other problem with the Panthers is there's a lot of problems in their wide receiver 2 behind Tedero and McMillan. We know Xavier Legette was a massive year 1 disappointment. I mean, he was bad, flat out bad, and I'm not a fan. Jalen Coker is also currently hurt. He's dealing with a soft tissue issue. He's not participating right now. So that's not ideal. I mean, we would like him to be participating, but he's not currently participating. And then Adam Thielen, I mean, maybe he's timeless, but he's going to be 35. I don't know if he's going to make it through another full season. So there is room. None of these other guys are locked in to be producers, which means there's room for Jonathon Sanders to step up, especially with where he's currently valued. So we'll see if Bryce Young takes that year 3 leap. I'm hoping for it. I'm not necessarily counting on it. But if he does, Jonathon Sanders could be a player that I'm looking at. Now, my final stash, this is the deepest of the bunch. Keaton Mitchell. I've noticed the Ravens have been talking up Keaton Mitchell, and it's interesting. He struggled in 2024, coming back from a late torn ACL in 2023. Now, in 5 games, he had 15 carries, 30 yards, and 1 catch for 28 yards. He did nothing, and it makes sense because Derrick Henry was a workhorse, and Justice Hill was playing well as a change of pace. What's interesting is that Keaton Mitchell, coming off the torn ACL, looking horrible, still was ahead of Rasheen Ali, their 5th-round pick last year. So, why do I have Keaton Mitchell as a dynasty stash? Well, he was amazing in a short stint in 2023. I think a lot of people forget just how good Keaton Mitchell was. He was working his way to being a top 25 dynasty RB before he went down. I mean, in 8 games, 47 carries, 396 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.9 yards a carry, and 9 catches for 93 yards. It was just explosive play after explosive play. I know it's a tiny sample size, but I remember kind of watching this breakout. He was really good. He was good. It wasn't just a few lucky plays. He really looked good. People were talking about this being like, how do we value this asset? And then he got hurt kind of before that conversation was able to be completed. But he's still just 23 years old, doesn't turn 24 until January 2026. So he's not old. And then the big thing is the Ravens have clearly held over a spot for Keaton Mitchell. Now, they didn't add any running backs to their depth chart this offseason. They extended Derrick Henry. Of course, Derrick Henry is their starter. They extended Justice Hill early last season to a small contract with guarantees only in 2025. Now, Justice Hill also plays special teams. Obviously, he's going to make the team, but he doesn't have anything guaranteed beyond this year. Now, they played an injured Mitchell last year as RB3 over Rasheen Ali. So I would assume that they would play a healthier Mitchell over Rasheen Ali again, who they didn't trust at all. So I do think this is a very, very deep stash possibility of Keaton Mitchell, but I do see him cut in favor of totally worthless rookie ads. So the deepest of stashes in the deepest of leagues, but I wanted to just mention Keaton Mitchell at the end of this video. So I've actually got a lot of Patreon questions today, so we're going to have to do a little bit of rapid fire, but I'll try to cover them all. First one, what's your general recommendation for fab use in the offseason? How much of your budget are you willing to spend on undrafted rookies? So with fab questions, I generally say I don't cover fab on the channel. Fab in Dynasty is so league specific, so specific to how many roster spots you have, who you're dropping, what you think your league mates are going to spend. In general, I'm fine using it. I mean, there's no guarantee in Dynasty that good players are going to come up later. But yeah, the fab use is so league specific that I really don't even cover it in terms of my content because it's really hard to do general recommendations for Dynasty fab. Okay. In the final season of his contract, Sean Tucker appears to be buried on the Bucs depth chart. How do you predict the Bucs will use him this season? Rashad White posted that this was one final ride or something. I mean, at the end of the day, Sean Tucker is a UDFA player, so he'll be a restricted free agent after this year. Rashad White will be an unrestricted free agent. That means the Bucs will probably be able to keep Sean Tucker for next year. None of it matters, though. If Bucky Irving's healthy, he'll be the only one you can really play. The other ones won't be playable. I don't expect Rashad White to be the low-end RB2 flex play that he was last year. I think it'll be even more toward Bucky Irving. The other guys, it would probably require someone getting hurt for one of the other two to be usable. As long as all three are healthy, I think only Bucky Irving will be usable. What team do you root for in actual NFL games? Oh, I'm a Giants fan, sadly. But at least I've seen 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. So that's something. But yeah, I'm a Giants fan. How do we know when it's time to move on from older players in Dynasty, even if they were still good in 2024? I could do a whole video on this one. In general, when an older player shows that they are in decline, believe them. So Tyreek Hill is probably in decline. I could be wrong, but he was in decline. He looked bad, at least compared to what he was before. I'm just going to believe that he's in decline. That is the biggest indicator. If they were still good, that really depends on price. If they're being valued like too high, then I would move on. If they're not being valued so highly, then maybe you would keep them. For example, Joe Mixon is way overvalued. Aaron Jones isn't. So you had to move on from Joe Mixon, not Aaron Jones. There's one for example. What types of players do you find that you've been too quick to write off, and which types you've been too hesitant to write off? So too quick to write off. I think, I don't know. Typically, I just assume that anyone who doesn't hit in year 1 is going to be bad. And sometimes I think I'm trying to give players a little bit more of a chance without going too far in that direction. Too hesitant to write off. It's really hard when I was like really in on a prospect. I've tried to get better about this too, about changing my opinion faster, not making the Treylon Burks mistake of continuing to be in on Treylon Burks for too long. But continuing to be in on Drake London was correct. So it's always about refining the process. I don't think I'm particularly biased towards types of players. I think in general, I prefer youth because there's more value insulation. But yeah, in terms of quick to write off, I think I just try to get it right. I don't think I'm overly biased outside of age. Obviously, we know that I prefer young players. Offseason. Are there any running backs you would buy at the value with future picks? Does this answer change in season? The answer is no. Answer is always no, pretty much. The ways to buy running backs are very simple. Best way is to just draft them at a value in rookie drafts. Usually that's the second and third round running backs, not the guys in the first round. Although Ashton Genty at 101 I'm fine drafting Ashton Genty at 101. I'm fine drafting Amari and Hampton with a top 3 pick. Fine doing those. The next best way to buy running backs, and actually maybe sometimes better way, is to take on the clock picks and trade them for running backs who are worth more. Let's say you're at the late second or early third and you're planning to pick Jaden Blue. You could instead trade that pick for maybe Jordan Mason, who I like better. That's something I've seen done. So things like that. Buying running backs with future picks always comes at a bad value because picks are always worth more when they're on the clock. They're devalued when they're future picks. So in general, the answer is no. I cannot remember the last time I've done that in the offseason. In season, I have done it when I've been a contender and desperate, but I have to be a contender. I have to be desperate. I have to already be winning, not at the start of the season. Like I have to already be 6-2. So in the offseason, the answer is just a flat out no. I cannot remember the last time I've ever done that. I'm trying to think of any time I've ever done that, and I can't. So it's typically with the current year's picks that I'm buying running backs, not with the future picks. What's your favorite format of Dynasty or fantasy football? I mean, come on. This is a Dynasty channel. Dynasty, of course. I will say, I think for me, a hot take is that I don't know if it's hot, but I don't like Keeper at all. I've never played Keeper. Never wanted to. I think it's silly. I'd rather keep all the players or just start over. The Keeper's like a weird middle that I just don't, I don't get it. I don't know why I would want to do that. I'd either want to start over or not go halfway between. But yeah, redraft has its appeal, but I'm kind of a little over it. Obviously, Dynasty is my favorite. That's an easy question. Who do you predict may emerge as RB1 on the Commanders? It's Brian Robinson for 2025. There's zero doubt in my mind. However, Brian Robinson is, his rookie contract's up after this year. And I would say that if I had to bet, the 2026 RB1 on the Commanders is not currently on the team. I don't know who it is, but it's not currently on the team. I don't think it's one of the players on their current roster. So for this year, Brian Robinson, because it has to be. I do like Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt as a sleeper, but as a sleeper to take over the RB2 role, not to overtake Brian Robinson. That's not going to happen unless Brian Robinson gets hurt. But yeah, long-term, I think it's someone not on the roster at the moment. When planning to sell vets who are still scoring points, is it better to wait till the season actually starts? That is very situational. If you can get a good deal, I'm never opposed to just taking it because you never know what's going to happen. Typically, I would say waiting until right before the season is the best time, when people are just starting to set those week 1 lineups, but before you actually see it. So the last week of August, early September, I think that's the best time because you can get a good value and you don't have to risk the player getting hurt or the player looking bad or whatever. So yeah, late August, I think is when I really start to do that. But I'm not opposed to selling. I mean, if you offer me a first for Tyreek Hill, I'm going to take it now. I'm not going to wait to see if I can get more later. So that's kind of my answer. If it's a really good offer, I'll take it now. Otherwise, yeah, mid to late August is when I start looking in earnest at the players I really want to get rid of. Now, if you like the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon, Dynasty content year-round. You can click on the link top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using the code TylerYT50. Every sign-up helps support my independent content, namely this YouTube channel. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.